Hello and welcome to Centurion's Corner, and today we are going to be upgrading Scorch finally. Now this is the fourth one in the series of the Republic Commandos, and once we've done this guy upgraded, we have upgraded all the guys. So to be honest, Hasbro have done a fantastic job on this figure. I think it's probably one of the better looking ones. We've actually got a whole new sculpt here for the backpack. It does need a little bit of paint on here. We've actually got all these extra parts as well, which is really nice. And the gun was a new sculpt as well. So we'll just be bringing that collar down with the black as usual, giving him the sort of like extra vibrantness that we do in his eyes, giving him a bit of a black wash, dirting him up a little bit, maybe a few extra kind of like grooves and chippings over his armour as well. But he doesn't necessarily need that amount of attention compared to the others. All we need to do is actually just add him a few extra elbows on here as well. So I guess without further ado, let's just crack on with it. So first of all, what we're going to do is remove that paint on the visor, and what you want to do is use some acetone, and that can be used by nail polish remover. Just make sure in the ingredients that it has acetone. Next up, we're going to do is remove the actual kneecaps here. You can either pull them off, heat them up or whatsoever, or just use the knife as well. Just be very careful not to actually damage the fire plastic here or the actual knee pad itself. And once it's off, just leave them to one side. So I must apologise here, as I was filming live I wasn't really checking what I was recording, so some of the angles in this video are slightly off, but I will try and help you along the way with some extra pictures to display what I mean. So what you want to do is use your cyan paints here. I've already plastered a little bit over on the visor there. While it's still sort of like mid-drying, what you want to do is add some white inside there, and that will kind of blend in, making that nice glow effect. Once again, let it kind of dry off a little bit and then apply the last part, which is just pure white, and you should have a really nice kind of vibrant looking visor. Next up, what we want to do is use your flat black, and we're going to go around up to that U shape around the collar there and just fill that in completely black, and also don't forget around the back side. While we still have the black out, what we want to do is just fill in that kind of like LED part on the back of the backpack and just leave it to dry once done. So using the ocean grey here, it's a really good matching grey. We're just going to thicken up his sort of triangles there on his gauntlets on either side, just give him a little bit more extra detail. So carrying on with the same grey, we're going to apply it to his backpack. He's got those two large boxes either side that are white, and we're just going to change them to completely grey. So next up, we're going to use flat yellow. This is a really nice matching colour to the actual yellow that's already on the figure, and we're just going to fill in his buttocks. This part starts getting a bit intricate. It's up to you. You can keep it as the original figure and have the yellow line going straight down. There is some other pictures out there that are kind of make Scorch like, it looks like it's got the grey sweeping around to the back of the upper thigh and also the yellow as well. So I kind of opt for that. We did talk about it in the live, and I'm kind of pleased that I did. It just looks a little bit better. Just make sure you take off those two canisters as well on his right thigh, otherwise you won't be able to achieve this. So with the grey, what you want to do is kind of fill in that sort of thigh part at the back there, that wider part. Just fill it in and it sweeps right down. What you would need to do as well on the original at the front is widen that grey kind of stripe as well, so it looks like a sweeping down kind of swoop. So it just makes like a giant U shape really. Once you've got the grey all sort of sorted, the yellow can be easily applied because it's just going to follow it in a slightly thicker line above the grey. While the yellow is still on your brush, what you can do is apply 2 little yellow triangles to either side of his backpack, as they are missing these details too. Now with the cyan, what you want to do is fill in those buttons on his backpack and also those 2 top lights above on those kind of like tall things. Colour those in the new cyan colour as well. Even though they look like a similar colour, it just makes it look more matching and more uniformed. So now the figure is completely done really. All you need to do is add some weathering to the actual figure itself. I've done a nice black wash over it. Just look at the kind of black wash you've already done on the other 3, so they all kind of look like they've been on the same mission, and don't make one more muddy than the other obviously. And then I just got a bit of paint on the end of the brush here, and I just sort of dabbed it around in certain areas just to look like his paint is chipping off on his armour. So I'm not actually too sure what I'm filming here, but I'm actually just adding on the knees. Just make sure that you actually kind of gluing it to the top of the shin, but not the bit that you cut off. So the bit of the plainer part of the knee pad is going onto the shin there, otherwise it will stick out far too far. So coming into the home stretch now, what I'm using is just using sort of like a Gundam marker here. Kind of adds all those dings and bruises to the armour, kind of where it's kind of scratched against something, or a bit of a blast mark and stuff. Fantastic bit of kit, and you buy them for a £5 on Amazon. Now I'm just gunning off all the gunmetal parts around on the actual figure. Just around on the bottom of his backpack, and those extra little bits around the top of his sort of ear caps and the back of the helmet, plus his little rebreather parts around on the front of the helmet too. Just gives it that extra shine. Last part you want to do is grab your gunmetal as well and fill in the actual gun itself. Just the bits where are gunmetal, just to make it more shiny, make it more realistic. And then you can grab a dry brush as well with a bit of chrome paint, just to add some scratches and other bits of damage as well to the actual gun, just to make it look like it blends in with the actual trooper himself. So now to make his elbow pads, what you want to do is cut out a little bit of plastic. I'm using a bit of a front window display part from a figure, even though they're hard to come by. Once you cut it out, what you want to do is kind of measure it up against the actual figure itself. So you look at the actual elbow pad, he's got a little bit of extra part that just sticks out from the gauntlet, and you want to measure it up. Just use a little line here. Once you're done, what you want to do is slowly draw a kind of elbow pad. It doesn't have to be absolute accurate, as long as it gives off that kind of shape here, just looking very similar to this. Then you want to do is fold the plastic over on itself, so then use the actual Stanley knife and you can cut out 2 shapes at exactly the same time. And once they're both done, what you want to do is glue them onto the actual figure itself, and then use the grey that we've used over the figure and paint them completely. And then once done, you are ready to roll. So here he is, all finished and weathered and ready to join his brothers on the shelf, and he is the 4th of the Delta Squad, all finished and done, and now we are complete. It seems so long ago that we actually started with Boss, and now we are finished with Scorch, which is actually probably the best Hasbro produced Republic Commando out there. But he just needed a few extra touches on there, and wow, doesn't he pop out really well. Looks really cool. So what have we used here? We used flat yellow XF3, really nice yellow base paint. It just goes straight on the figure. You don't have to add any extra colours on there. It's literally a really nice match. So that's that one. We have used the Ocean Grey 2 XF82 RAF. Now again, a great good match. It is a little bit lighter than what's actually on there. I suppose you could add a little bit of black to actually match it in, but when you do the actual weathering of the figure, it doesn't really look. It looks a little bit more apparent on camera because all the cameras and all the lights are on there. But when it's on the shelf, you hardly notice it, to be honest with you. The other one we have used is flat XF2, and that's flat white, and that's all for his chip-ins and other parts on there. But in combination with that, we have used the Ammo MiG Cyan, and that's all for his visors and all those sort of extra sort of light parts that we have used over the actual figure itself. And then we have used a little bit of chrome silver, more for the chip-ins and stuff there on his gun. And then we have used the gunmetal X10 as well, again for all the sort of like chrome parts of his helmet and around on his ears and stuff. But we have a little closer look at the figure in a second. And then we have used XF1 flat black, and that's just around on that neck collar there. Again, I just feel like adding that extra collar part on there, it makes the armor spread open a little bit, making him look more sort of like rugged and more wider in stance. And then we have used a Gundam marker as well, and using all those extra chip-ins and whatnot over the top, and then using a little bit of flat black, we have done the black wash over the actual figure itself. So let's just take a look. Starting from the head downwards, we have used that white and cyan there for that sort of visor. All these extra little parts down there, we've used all this sort of gunmetal as well to make all these bits really pop and shine off there, looking really cool. Going around on the back, we haven't really added any more, but just that gunmetal as well along on these sort of visor parts around on that bit, looking quite nice. On the backpack itself, we've added that extra detail, added this of that grey as well, just to make it pop, and a little bit more details, and that cyan as well adding around on top just to blend it all in with all the colours as well, so it does work on there. Coming around to the side, we've actually added on these sort of like nice sort of elbow pads as well, using that RAF. You can see the actual colour matching on there. It's so close, you know, it's literally just shadowing, which makes it a little bit different. Added that extra bit of RF on there to make that kind of triangle part a little bit wider. And again, all over the figure, we have used sort of the chip-ins, another part really to bring the actual figure to life. Like, he's been through some hell and back. The main part really on here that we have actually used, so the yellow would have gone straight down here. So using that reference picture, we have just swooped that yellow around and then come back up here and then filled in the extra with that sort of RF colour as well. So I think it actually does work. I'm kind of glad that I actually did it, because originally I wasn't really going to bother. I was just going to leave it sort of straight, but I think it really blends in that figure all the way around and to his yellow bum as well. So yeah, again, you can see that colour match on there. It's literally straight out of the pot. No prepping or anything on there, just literally just layered it straight on there, and it's a really good match. And then coming down to the rest of the figure, we've done more of a gunmetal splashes and black wash all over the actual figure itself, and then changing up his knee pads as well. So not really too much on there, it's just a few extra details on there. Just take your time. I think it took me about 2 hours in all, but you know, I have done this a little bit more often than not. But if you've been following the guides and been doing the others, it's not even hard, to be honest. I think the hardest one we've probably done was Sev, in my opinion. We've got the extra little yellow triangle as well that we've added on the side here to blend it all in, and yeah, just really glad how he's turned out. So that is Scorch. Let's get him all stand up and there, and we can actually bring in the rest of his brothers. So we started off with Boss. Not too much on this one. It's just a bit of weathering and a few extra orange parts around on here. I haven't actually changed his knees. They're still stuck to the top, so that's one thing I will be changing. And we did actually add on the kind of little dagger thing that he does have on here. That's up to you. You can either do that or not, and I actually just used exactly the same thing I used for the elbows and just cut out a little bit of that plastic and add it on there. So it's entirely up to you if you wanted to add that. I just kind of thought it would be quite cool for Boss to have it, because he looks quite plain without it, in my opinion. Actually, let's move Scorch along a little bit, so we've got a little bit of room. And then we got Sev, and on Sev on here we have actually added on these little parts up here. I think this is from one of those R2-D2 kits that we have actually added on. Some bits from there from a Clone Trooper belt as well. I actually added that on as well. So and a lot more sort of red paint all over those extra areas. So yeah, that is Sev, and I'm glad that he looks how he does. And then the last but no means least, we had Fixer as well. Again, Zach is saying a little bit more extra parts needed to add it on here. We added this little bit of cardboard for his kind of sort of like ammo pouch bits there at the top. Maybe I need to do a little bit more metal in there. I can see the brown from the cardboard sticking through. But yeah, nonetheless, looking pretty cool, looking pretty nice. And yeah, now these guys are all completely done, like the Bad Batch as well. We've actually finished off enough nice group of Republic Commandos, all upgraded and going. But for me, I think Scorch has really come out the best in my opinion. What do you think your one is? What is your favourite upgrade here? And have you tried any of these? Let me know in those comments down below. You can subscribe, you can ding that bell, follow me on Instagram, and also you can join the channel if you're in the place to do so. Wherever you're from, it's 99p or 99 cents, and it's very much appreciated. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye!